What's going on, guys? Welcome to Tech Savvy Buyer. Today we're going to take a look at JXD Singularity S192K, which essentially is probably one of the best gaming tablets that you can buy today. Let's take a look at this in detail coming up. So welcome back. Now I want to give a special shout out to Gearbest.com for sending this product in for review and sponsoring this video. Gearbest carries over 300,000 different types of products that you can purchase from their website, and they're actually able to supply this tablet for cheaper than if you were to go to Amazon.com. So I have a link in the description below. You guys can check them out if you do want to order this at the end of this video. Now let's do a quick unboxing of this to kind of see what you get inside the box, and we'll go over all the different features of this device and the benefits of it and some of the cons of it as well before I give you my verdict if this is actually worth the asking price tag of $300. So the JXD S192 is kind of a different style tablet, one that you're probably not used to seeing. And the reason is most obviously there's a gamepad built into the actual tablet. And this makes for a pretty unique and creative gaming experience, I have to admit. So inside this tablet, you've got a quad-core processor, you've got a Mali T760 GPU, you have 4 gigabytes of RAM, you have 64 gigabytes of inbuilt storage, and an expandable storage slot up to 128 gigabytes. The screen is a full HD IPS screen, which gives you very crisp and sharp resolution, and overall the ergonomics of this device is actually really well made. The button placement is actually really convenient. Each L3 and R3 button actually is depressible, so you can use that as a functionality for games that require that movement, which is nice to see because you don't really get that in a lot of gamepads. They have the shoulder buttons on the top that seem to work really well. You've got your L1 and R1 and L2, R2, or right button, left button, depending on if you're on an Xbox scheme or a PlayStation scheme. The entire body is made out of an ABS plastic shell, which in itself is not super awesome or fancy, but it does have a black matte finish, which gives it a fingerprint resistant kind of shell, all in all. Now, in addition to all the stuff that's included inside, the device also has a 5 megapixel camera in the front that you can use for video calls and conferencing. You have an inbuilt microphone on the bottom as well. You have a micro SD slot, so you can expand that storage up to 128 gigabytes. You have a 3.5 millimeter headphone adapter port. You have a USB charging port for the device, and right next to it you have a small pinhole reset button as well. So in case something does happen to your device, if you get it stuck or it crashes or something, you can actually do a factory reset that way. Looking at the top of the device, you have your power button, your volume up, volume down, and you also have a micro HDMI out port as well, or actually mini HDMI, shall I say. So there's pretty good connectivity included inside this device, and like I mentioned, overall build and inclusion of different kinds of ports make for it to be a solid device. But what does gaming performance and other features actually look on this? So let's talk a little bit more on that in detail. Now inside the system, you actually get an Android operating system, which is great. However, it is a bit outdated. It's 5.1.1 Lollipop OS, which for today's day, it's really old. Now it does get the job done. You're able to load a lot of apps on here, including the Google suite of apps, obviously. However, it is worth noting that some new apps like Netflix require you to have a newer version of Android to actually work, so you won't be able to get it to work on this device specifically. Now that is a major drawback in my opinion, only because if it's an Android device, there should be regular updates from it. And speaking of updates, I haven't really seen many updates coming from the manufacturer of this tablet to support the firmware in this. So you may have to go in an alternate route of getting custom ROMs and rooting and stuff like that. Totally not my ballpark, but something that you are more than welcome to do with this device if you'd like to go that route. In terms of performance, with it having an older operating system, the system's actually really snappy and responsive. At no point in time during my use of this and testing of this did I feel like there was any kind of noticeable lag or there's any kind of issues with the device in terms of speed. The 4 gigabytes of RAM really do help have this device speed up pretty quickly. Gaming performance on all the included emulators are really good. I'd only say that there's 2 emulators in specific that to me could have been executed a little bit better on this, and with more testing I was actually able to sideload that directly instead of using the inbuilt ones, and it worked fine. And those two are Rycast and actually SNES9X, believe it or not. So in terms of emulators, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10 that you're able to run every single emulator that you want, including up to a PS2 emulator. If you download Daemon PS2 Pro, you can actually run PS2 games on this tablet on the go anywhere you want. And that works really, really well. Just like all the other emulators like I mentioned, with the exception of Rycast and SNES9X. So booting up a game, the software comes inbuilt with Happy Chick. Now, a lot of other reviewers really did not appreciate this software, and I have to disagree with everyone, to be very honest. And the reason is, it's better to have something than to not have anything at all, quite frankly. And there are a different level of features and options that you have with the Happy Chick that you don't get by using RetroArch or something else, because it's a little bit more easily configured out of the box. And with that I mean, you can go in the settings and do button mappings. Everything is already done for you when you use Happy Chick. Whereas if you use RetroArch, you might have to configure your buttons to match that emulator specifically. So out of the box, it's already pre-programmed with that. And what I mean is, if you're playing a PSP game, it's going to recognize these as joysticks, or a PS1 game. It's going to recognize, if you're playing an Android game, that the top shoulder buttons are supposed to behave like shoulder buttons. Even when you do game streaming. So even when you're streaming from PC using either a Moonlight, or if you're using AMD's Link, any kind of streaming app that you want to consider to use to play PC games on this, it actually detects your button pad as an Xbox 360 controller, which is really, really cool, because it doesn't mean that you have to do any kind of separate pairing or button mapping or anything of that nature. You can literally just hop in a game and hop out, and it's fine. Now, speaking of streaming, one of the limitations that I'd have to say about this device is there's a lack of an inclusion of 5 gigs Wi-Fi, which is really important if you want to do fast, latency-free gaming over internet. Now, if you do have a good Wi-Fi connection, you can use apps such as Shadow, which is a game streaming service, or a cloud gaming service essentially, to play games on this. And my experience using Shadow on this device was far better than actually streaming in-home from my own PC, just because the system over Wi-Fi was not actually trying to communicate on one connection, if that makes sense. So having my connection just directly to the Shadow's cloud, and that system doing all the work and then sending it back to this device, was a lot more efficient than doing it the other way. So you can really ultimately turn this tablet into the ultimate gaming device. And while it's, at the end of the day, it's an Android tablet, you might be thinking, well, why should we spend, the price that's being asked for this? Ultimately, the reason is because you have this included joypad, and there really isn't anything else like this. Sure, GPD Win is out. There's another GPD that has Android built into it, and they have joysticks. They're shaped like a Nintendo 3DS for the most part, but they're not like this. There's something to be said about actually holding a tablet this size in your hand when you're laying down in bed, or you're out somewhere, even if you're just traveling on a subway, a plane, or anything. This is really, really convenient. Now, in addition to all, the obvious functionalities that you get with an Android device and the excellent emulation capabilities of this device, there's a couple other things that are really cool about this. So first off, I'd say that the inbuilt speakers on this device are really, really good, and they actually get pretty loud. They're by no means low volume speakers. They actually have a special speaker chamber inside this device to make it get more amplified. Now, it doesn't mean you're gonna get crazy levels of bass or anything like that, but there is a pretty solid level of clarity in the audio. So I'll just play something randomly here, and you guys can check out the volume as to how loud it can go. Okay. So pretty loud, not horrible at all, I would say. Now, another thing that's really good about this is the overall battery life. I get a solid 8 to 10 hours playing on games all day long, or if I'm using YouTube, or if I'm generally just browsing around apps, installing stuff, doing any kind of stuff, moderate usage basically. And I'm still at a pretty decent battery level. So that, I would say, is a huge plus in my books as to what are some of the really good benefits of this tablet. Now, in addition to the overall ergonomics of this, I really wanted to give credit to JXD for putting together really, really nice joysticks. Now, they claim that these are Xbox One joysticks and they work just like that, and honestly, I can't really tell the difference. They feel really well, they're really comfortable to use, and they actually are very responsive when you're gaming. And the last thing I'd say that was really good about this tablet is just, it was a nice touch that they included a built-in screen protector on this device. So upon opening the box, I didn't have to worry about getting scratches on the screen or damaging the screen at all, since they did go out of their way and include a screen protector, which is pretty convenient. So now I've covered all the really, really good things about this tablet, and I would say just on the aspects of that alone, it's very, very solid. However, there are a few limitations and drawbacks of this tablet that I do want to cover as well. And the first one being that the Android OS, like I mentioned, is a little bit outdated. Being a 5.1.1 Lollipop, you do have some limitations using that operating system. In addition to that, I also mentioned that the 2.4 gigs Wi-Fi connection to me is a limitation since you're not able to stream on faster internet connections. Definitely a hindrance for this device. The 5 megapixel camera that's included, I'm not big on cameras and tablets, I never really use them, but if I wanted to, I certainly wouldn't be able to take very nice pictures with the camera that's included on this device. It's not a very, very nice clear camera, it's just okay. Something you typically expect from other kinds of tablets of that nature. And last but not least is the price point. It's $300 for this device. So naturally you think, well, at $300, if I want to buy something for gaming, be it retro gaming and emulation or whatnot, I've got some options if I want to buy a Switch and hack that, or if I want to buy a PlayStation 4 and possibly do something with that, maybe get an older Xbox. You get the story. There's a lot of options you have at the price point of $300. And certainly the hardware in this does not warrant the price of $300, quite frankly. However, all that being said, the stuff that this device does offer, and just the fact that it is uniquely designed, in my opinion and in my honest assessment, I believe that this is actually worth its price tag. And the real reason for that is because you can't really go out and buy something that's exactly like this or similar like this, you know, that has the built-in gamepad that's automatically mapped to every game. That also supports Miracast, so another feature I didn't share with you guys, but you can throw up whatever's on this screen onto a big screen or a projector anywhere you want that supports Miracast capabilities. While that's great for viewing videos and stuff, I wouldn't recommend you do that for gaming, again, because it is limited by the 2.4 gigs Wi-Fi included in this, which kind of makes you seem to experience a lot of input lag and latency and stuff of that nature. Now, you'll also have the mini HDMI port, which you can, again, connect it up to screen and play it like a game console on your TV, and that actually worked really well in my tests also. All that stuff aside, and factoring that this is a $300 device, I still think there's a lot of value to be had with this device. Again, even with the outdated hardware and the limited OS that's included in this, you're not going to find any other device that really does what this does in this kind of layout. And I have to tell you, the ergonomics of this really, really is solid. Like, I can play this for hours and hours and hours without feeling remotely tired using this device, which I say speaks a lot for itself, because if you have big hands and you've played with the Nintendo Switch, after about an hour at most probably, you feel pretty fatigued and it's just not comfortable. This makes it very comfortable to hold. And I like that they have the included functionality of the ports. You can expand storage, and you can always throw this up to a TV if you want. Plus, the built-in microphone is also a nice touch on this device. Overall, I would say it is a solid buy, guys. Even at its price point, I will recommend people to buy this, although you might find it to be a little bit too expensive. Now, I would have wished that they would price this a little bit lower at maybe the 200 to 250 price range, and that would have been better. But I think at this price point, it's still capturing a market that no other competitor really is able to serve in this way. So with that being said, guys, that is pretty much the end of this review. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm always happy to engage with you guys and give you my feedback on it as well. If you're interested in picking one of these up, make sure you head over to Gearbest.com. Link is in the description below. You guys can pick one up from them cheaper than you can if you were to go onto Amazon. As always, guys, if you like my content, go ahead and hit that like button and drop a subscribe while you're here. And until then, I will see you on my next videos. Take care and bye-bye.